Hey everybody, welcome. It's David Neagle. Welcome to another episode of the Successful Mind Podcast. I am your host, as you already know that, because I'm the host of every single one, so I'm the host. Today I want to talk to you about something that I think is a lot of fun. And I want to explain to you where this idea came from, because I think that I get ideas for business and mindset in almost every area of my life because I see how things transfer over into what I call like the same thing, right? But it gives you a different view. So you might want to write this down. Life is not about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning from them. When I was a kid, I grew up hunting and fishing in the Northwoods of the United States. And it was a passion of mine for a long time. And I'm the consummate student. So whenever I'm studying something, I'm in it all the way. Like I want to know as much about something as I can. You know, I love learning and I'm passionate about studying. One of the things that I picked up from studying avid hunters, I'm not just talking about anybody, but the best in the world, was this concept. And the concept was going slower pays bigger results. So what does that mean? Well, people that are in the wild that are actually pursuing game, okay? The idea is to go what most people would consider painfully slow, like one step and then 2-3 minutes before the next step. And the reasoning behind it and why it's so difficult for most people, because most people are so impatient, but they end up scaring away more than they ever even see, is that every time you take a step in the woods or in the wilds, anywhere in the country or the world for that matter, every step forward, you get a completely new view of what's in front of you. It's totally different. It's not the same picture. You see things at different angles. You see light different. You see shadows different. You see movements different. So when you take that step forward, you stop and you scan the area. And you're looking, obviously, for specific things because you're hunting. But as I was thinking about this, I was thinking, success is very much the same way. And people miss opportunities all the time because they're running in one direction or another when it comes to success. One direction is that they're making decisions to avoid mistakes. The other one is that they're trying to get to the end result that they want as fast as they possibly can, and they're missing everything that's in between. So let's use something that everybody's familiar with, right? Wherever you live, your window in your living room, right? Some areas of the country call it a front room, wherever you call it. When you stand in that room and you look through the window and you look outside your house, your apartment, your condo, wherever you live, that view is pretty much the same all the time, right? Now, if you live on a busy street, yeah, there may be some different cars and stuff that go by. Depending on the area of the country you live in or the world that you're in, you might have the seasons, so that may change. But most of it doesn't change. And if it does, it's rare that it changes. It's not changing constantly. So if you're standing inside of that living room and you're looking out that window and you want something different, and you need to see it first before you take action on it, you'll stay in the living room for the rest of your life because you're never going to get a different view outside of that living room. It requires that you go beyond the glass, okay? That you take another step forward, because when you take another step forward, you see things different. If you're standing in your living room and you're looking out into your front yard, okay? You can only see so much because the walls at the ends of the window are going to block your vision to the left and to the right. It's also going to do it up and down. But if you were to walk out your front door and go stand right at the front window, but looking out towards the front yard, you would see much more than you could from inside of the window. And every step you took forward, your mind would repicture everything, and you would see things, if you really paid attention, that you never saw before, only because you were advancing forward. Now, what does this have to do with success? Here's what it has to do with. For 26 years, I've been working with thousands of people all over the world. And most people are raised in an environment where it's like, we don't want to take too much risk, right? You'd rather be safe than sorry, that kind of an idea. And yet they have big dreams. They really want to have success in their life, but they cannot seem to master the decision-making process so that they can actually see something different. So on a past podcast, I talked about the idea of the God step, where literally when you make a decision, the next step is God's or the universe, right? So you make a decision, that is one step forward into your environment. When you take that step, you can see things different, and it also allows things to come to you. The key is to stop, to pause, to take the step and pause, and allow the universe to make another step toward you, right? So it's like two things splitting the difference, right? You're meeting in the middle. If your motivation around what you're doing is to avoid mistakes, which, by the way, is not crazy when you think about it, because that's really what we're taught our whole life, is to avoid mistakes. As we were going through school, it's important to remember something that I've said many times. We were not being prepared for success in any educational system. We were being prepared to go to work for somebody else, to take orders from other people that are in authority, to be able to follow direction, to be able to do things right the first time, to be able to not make mistakes, and to continue that repetition of that for the rest of your life. That's what the idea is behind it. Entrepreneurs, the reason that you hear so many entrepreneurs that have actually quit school and they become super successful is because at some point they realize that the rules that they're given for the outside world in school don't work for their dream. They're impossible. It won't work. And once you realize that school wasn't set up for you to live your dream, it was set up for you to learn some kind of a skill and go to work for somebody else, then you begin to realize you got to follow a different set of rules. And the biggest one is that it's okay to make mistakes. It's actually desirable to make mistakes. And sometimes that's a big thing for people to have to get over. I come from this place. This is the way that I teach it to all the people that work with me. There are no such thing as mistakes, only lessons. When you reframe that idea, you get a much bigger picture. It's a different viewpoint. Are things going to go wrong, so to speak? Of course they are. Absolutely. Are things going to happen in your life that are not desirable? Absolutely. Happens to everybody. However, we don't learn anything from it if we shut the door and stop the moment that we're uncomfortable or we experience pain. We just freeze right there. And we say to ourselves, well, I can't move forward because, and we create an excuse, and then all an excuse is a rationalization of whatever you're seeing in front of you that is causing you to say, I don't want to move forward. But the key behind it, like the root of what's behind it, is that you're following a command that no longer works in your life. And that is, don't make mistakes. And I'm telling you, make mistakes. Make as many as you can. Make them as fast as you can and learn from every one of them. How does that help? Well, here's the idea. Picture again, you're standing in front of the window, okay? As long as you stand in front of that window, behind the window, so that you're looking out into your yard, you can only make decisions that you've made before because the picture is exactly the same. When you get out of your house and you step in front of that window by making a new decision, right? So now, let's say decision represents every step forward. As you make the decision, you have new ideas and new opportunities become apparent to you. That allows you to make a different decision, right? You can look at it and go, look at this new information that I have in front of me. What can I do with that information? Now, if you're an avid student and you're studying and you're learning the principles of success, your mind is beginning to expand into those ideas. And when you see new ideas and opportunities, you can literally make new decisions, which is another step forward. It's another step after the target, right? It's another leap forward in the game itself. And with every one, you're seeing something different, you're learning something different, your mind is expanding to something different. Now, this is something that most people don't know. Whether you call it God or the universe, God or the universe doesn't slow you down. Only you do that. And here's the reason why, right? For those of you that feel like all of a sudden you have to challenge me on something, just think about this before you challenge me. We were given the greatest power there is for creation, and that's the ability to choose. Now, I've always been a firm believer God doesn't take that choice away from us, right? That's our inalienable right. That's what God gave us, the ability to choose. So how fast we go in life or how slow we go is determined by us. The universe or God will meet you with every step as fast as you can make it. There is no slow time or fast time in the universe, just reaction time. That's it. You make the step, bam, the universe reacts. It's an absolute law. It's called the law of cause and effect. Every step you make is a cause, and the universe or the God step is the step back in your direction. Now, what's interesting about that God step is that you're making steps forward, not knowing how you're going to get there. When God moves toward you, he's giving you the how. And then your job is to make the next step. What we don't want to do is to get those wires crossed. We don't want to start thinking to ourselves, I need to know how before I take the step. Because if we do that, we'll get into analysis paralysis and we won't go anywhere. You'll be behind the window in your living room for the rest of your life. And that picture will never change. It will never change. The seasons will go by, but seasons go by for everybody. Your life will not change other than it's going to consistently get older and you'll get to the place where you're running out of time. But when you step out in front of that window and you start making those decisions, because now I've got more information, understand this, and this is really cool. When you have a vision for where you're going, okay, you have a clear decision in your mind. You got a vision for where it is that you're going. God's not going to send you something that is completely wackadoodle outside of what it is that you need to go where it is that you want to go. And if you really think about this, you'll be like, I never really thought about that. I'll give you, for instance, let's say that your business is making signs or something, right? Or you're a lawyer, right? So when you think about how big, massive, how wonderful you want your business to be, you're not all of a sudden going to get a God step in your direction that says, here's an opportunity to be a brain surgeon or a chemist or an astronaut, right? You're going to get things that need to come to you in order for you to say yes for the completion of your vision. Remember this, and there's a lot of podcasts that I've talked about this. We have an imagination for a reason. That imagination is stirred by desire. If we allow that to grow, the desire to grow into our imagination, it allows us to do something unbelievable. It gives us vision. Your imagination allows you to see. Our eyesight's our most dominant sense, right? However, most people are going through and all they're seeing is what other people want them to see. How much time do you spend on one of these things, right? You're just sitting there scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and looking at these pictures and everybody else's stories of their life, and you're not seeing the image of what you want on the inside. Your mind is filled with images from other people, and they've put those images in your mind. It's got to be so confusing for people because at some point you won't be able to tell the difference between what you want, like literally what it is that you want in your life, versus what somebody else wants. And in most cases, because we were programmed to take orders from other people in authority, we will actually do things that other people want. That's where you hear people say, the older you get, you have to step into the independence of your own voice, right? We don't care what other people think. Even if you're going to make a mistake, we don't care what other people think. We only care what we think because we're walking through life and we want to experience life. We want the adventure of life. We want all that life has to offer, right? We want to grab it. We want to just, fulfill everything that we possibly can. But in order to do that, you've got to take the step And then when God takes the step toward you, bam, you got to say yes to that step, which means you need to make a decision to step into those ideas or those opportunities. Now, that's where everything falls apart for the majority of people. Like, I'm just going to tell you the exact truth on this. I've been studying in this industry since 1993, and I've been running a business in this industry since 1999. The amount of people that I saw that have amazing potential, that could create amazing businesses, could become multimillionaires, that stopped at this point is an extraordinary number. Extraordinary. Because they could not, in their mind, comprehend that they needed to step into the opportunity that was put in front of them. They wanted to know the how about all of it before they could actually make the step. And because they can't think of the how, they've never done it before, they would freeze in fear. Doubt and worry would take over their mind, and they can't move. Now, there's another part to this step that you need to know, because if you don't know it, your mind's going to trip you up. When God makes that step toward you, right? You've taken your step forward, you see something completely new. There's new ideas and new opportunities because God's taken that step toward you. It's instantaneous, okay? What you have to realize is that that next step is going to require something of you, right? Some kind of demonstration of your growth. In the beginning, it's usually time and money because we need to learn more or we need to do things to develop new habits so that we can develop new results in our life. I don't care who a person is, whether they're wealthy or they're completely broke, they're never going to change without adapting to those two problems. You're going to have to spend money and you're going to have to come up with more time, right? Which is nothing more than a rearrangement of time, really. But when that happens and you look at your life and you go, I can't because there's no money, I have no money, and my days are taken up. The illusion of that for you will destroy all your future hopes and dreams. What you must remember at that stage is that if the way to step into the ideas and the way to step into the opportunities has become apparent, the ways to get the money and time is there at the same time. Remember that law of polarity? If you have a question, there's an answer. If you have a problem, there's a solution. Every opportunity comes with the resources that are necessary for you to step into the opportunity. But again, you have to let your mind expand into them to actually see them. Now, I'm sure some of you are listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, this is the craziest thing that I ever heard. Fair enough. I thought that at one time myself. But let me challenge you on that. You think about, number one, let me give you a couple of facts. Every single thing, right? Like this is my phone, right? Here's a pen. Here's a piece of paper with a note on it. Every single thing that human beings have created, okay, with their hands, they've created these things, was first an idea in their mind. They had to see it in their mind first. They didn't get a book, an instruction book of how to do it. They weren't told where the things are in the earth, the resources that they could extract to turn into rubber and oil and gold and silver and metals and plastics and glass. And there was no book. There was no instruction book. So how did we get to the stage of evolution, social evolution, and advancement that we are? Because people of courage that had a vision for themselves, they stepped into as far as they could see at the moment. And what they realized was that God would send them the rest, but only when they stepped forward. If they had to have it all drawn out before they did it, it would never happen. And here's another truth. For most people, it never happens because they don't understand that rule. That's how everything in the universe operates. You take a step, God takes a step. You make a decision, God makes a decision. You commit, God commits. Now, there's a process inside of ourselves that works tremendously if we do this in the right order, right? Okay, so the order basically works like this. The first thing you do is you have an idea in your mind for what it is that you want. Now, you're going to take this step, okay? You must be committed to that idea in order for courage to come up inside of yourself, which is the energy to move through the fear, okay? Everybody has fear. Everybody. Anybody that tells you they're not afraid, they're lying to you. Everybody that does something new has some fear, period, okay? But God gave us something unique to get through it, and that's courage. The key, though, the key to getting courage is to picking something that you really want. And that's another place where people just completely fall flat on designing their own life, because we're taught over and over again we can't have what we want. And I'm telling you, what you want is the answer. It's the way. It's the way. It's how God speaks to you and through you. And the desires pull you in the direction of what you truly want in life, but you must commit. And I don't see, look at it like this. Who wants to commit to something that they don't really want, right? It's like if somebody says you got to work a job, hard labor for the rest of your life because you don't have an education, you don't have luck, you don't have any of these resources or whatever, and you're going to have to commit to that. Can you imagine the strain on yourself to do it every day? I can, because I did it. I did that in my 20s. I was doing jobs because I had no education. I had nothing to advance on. And getting out of bed every day was the greatest chore of my life. Nobody ever said to me, you can have what you want. What do you want? Nobody said that to me. I had to discover that on my own. But I'm saying it to you. What you want is the answer. When you pick the thing you really want, the love of the thing and the courage comes to the surface that allows you to step through the first barrier, okay? When you step through it, all of the ability that you have for this thing starts to come to the surface. It literally starts to come to the surface, right? Some people call it talent. Some people call it skill. Some people call it inspiration. Some people call it motivation. What it is you're in harmony with the thing that you're actually put here for, and all of that ability comes to the surface. And because you're committed, you take the next step, which is the mastery step, right? It's the part where the rubber meets the road. You put action into it. As you take that action and repeat that action, you're going to develop confidence. We don't want to approach it the other way around, right? For years, constantly people ask me the question, David, how do I get the confidence to do this? And I'm like, you don't. Confidence was never the answer. It's courage. You only get confidence when you repeat something enough to have some mastery over it, then you're confident that you can do it. So we want to be confident in how we think. We want to be confident in our decisions. We want to be confident in the approach that we're going to take. And remember this idea, okay? If you stand behind that safety glass, nothing's going to change. You got to take the step. At least take one step forward. Buy something. Go to a seminar. Do something that's going to allow you to get a mind that's expanded so that you can see different ideas and you can have different opportunities. And then from there, it's one step at a time. Now, you can control how fast or slow you want to make the step. But if you're saying, show me a map, how do I get from where I am to the success that I want? I just gave you that map. You start off with what you want, you admit it to yourself without having to explain it to anybody else. And then you step into that thing courageously. You commit. Take one step, then another, then another. And as you begin to build that, right, what's going to happen is you're going to become more confident in every next step because you're going to understand how it works. And that you will always be met with the resources and the way and everything that you need, right? God's not going to abandon you and laugh at you and say, you fool, you took the step. There's nothing there. Other people will tell you that, but they're wrong. And you'll never see anybody, not one person, that's become successful in their life that's going to actually tell you that. What they will tell you is, like, step forward. Now, they may explain it as far as luck or opportunity or whatever. That's fine. Explain it any way that you want. The truth is that if you always move forward, God moves closer to you with the next step. Failure is not real. The only failure is when a person gives up, when they're not paying attention and they give up. Any person can be successful because that's why we're here. That's why we're here. You might want to watch this 10, 20, 50, 100 times. Pass it on to other people that you know. It is the way to the success that you want in your life. Be successful. Talk to you soon.